Deprana Papanada Octis.
Bapanada everyone! Today we are going to take a look at who is the strongest character in all of Hollow Knight.
Spoiler alert, it's not Zod.
That's right! Wait, who are you?
Well, it's me, T4coTV.
Oh yeah, I remember now. We talked about this. So yeah, Taco is going to be joining us tonight, and he's also making a similar video about who is the weakest character in all of Hollow Knight. So definitely check out his video after finishing this one. And he's gonna be kicking things off with the weaker characters of the strong ones. So not the ones who are the strongest of the strong, but the weakest of the strong. Does that make sense? Anyway, take it away, Taco.
Yes, so let's start off with one of the most prominent folks in the kingdom, the Pale King. Now you might be thinking, that guy is the ruler of the entire kingdom, so he must be the most powerful being, right? To which I would reply with, not even close. While he was very influential during his reign, he had little to no actual combat skills. Also, he's dead now, which is not something going in his favor. To be fair though, in his first form as the Worm, he might have been one of the strongest, but that was a long time ago, before the kingdom of Hallownest was even created, so that doesn't count. Next up on our list of characters which seem very strong, but actually aren't, are the 5 Great Knights. This might be a bit of a controversial take, but I mean, come on. Zemer just nopes the fuck out of existence after he delivered her flower. Dryia died in the queen's front yard because she got poked by a confused mantis. Hagamol got his armor stolen by a bunch of maggots, which, by the way, I talk more about in my video. Isma literally turned into a fucking tree. And Ogrim? Alright, Ogrim's cool, no matter what you say. Now next up on our list is Lord Fool. And oh, a fool he was. Sitting on a throne in the Colosseum of Fools, he observed the trials. He must have been very powerful for the warriors of the Colosseum to respect him. But during the game, we just see him dead on his throne. So clearly something got the better of him. Something that we'll talk more about later in this video. And now, we got the Dream Warriors. Starting off with No Eyes, she is clearly the weakest one of the bunch, since she pulled out her own eyeballs and now she can't see. Who could have seen that coming, am I right? Next up we have Marmu, who doesn't have much more combat capabilities than a ping pong ball. Elderhu wanted to purify Hallownest from the infection, but got himself infected while trying. Gorb is he's just an absolute genius. The next up we got Zero, who was a warrior by trade, but got infected, turned against the Pale King and was executed for it. Markov, as far as we know, never got infected and fought anyone who threatened him no matter the reason, so he deserves a high ranking inside the Dream Warrior list. But I think there's one Dream Warrior that is even more powerful, and that is Galleon. Galleon was, and I quote, a brave and undefeated warrior. Well, that was until at some point he wanted to test his strength, went to Deep Nest and died there. So I guess he was not the very strongest character in Hollow Knight after all. And neither were any of the other Dream Warriors, since they died at some point as well. And with that, I'll pass the mic back to you, Stizzl.
Thanks Taco for talking about those first few entries and proving why they are indeed weak ass bitches. At least compared to what comes next. But now, let's dive into the hardest to beat bosses next and see if any of them are worthy of being called the strongest character. Sly is kind of strong. Right after suffering through the entirety of the third Pantheon, Sly waits at the end, and as the Great Nail Sage, he basically fights like all of the Nail Masters combined. But on cocaine. Still, if we didn't save him in the crossroads, he would still just kind of stand around, so that doesn't really work in his favor now, does it? NKG is aggressive. He literally killed me 500 times before I first beat him. He remains one of my strongest enemies, who I only beat 1 in 5 times or something. Sometimes I still cry at night, remembering what he did to me. So anyway, is he the strongest of them all? Well, he is really strong, but given that he can be banished without having to be fought, is proof that he is basically just a glorified pushover. Please don't come to my house, NKG, I'm still very scared of you. Technically, the pure vessel should be stronger than a knight, but it still is not strong enough to beat the Radiance, so let's just move on over to that, because the Absolute Radiance is strong, right? She infects so many beloved characters, like the Enraged Guardian, for example. The Absolute Radiance is of course the center of it all, the reason behind the downfall of Halonest. The sickness spreading throughout the kingdom, enveloping every hidden settlement, every city, every road and every sanctuary. Everything? No. A few beings have stood the test of time and are opposing the Radiance, so let's take a look at them. In the far left of Green Path, just kinda vibes. But as much as I loved that fat snail, would never be able to beat the Radiance. Though she managed to keep the Pale King from having influence over Green Path, her actual underlings kinda got infected like everyone else anyway. So I guess is just sitting in her cave and not minding at all. And you know, she's socially distancing and only breaks that rule to spit a charm in your face, so good for her, you go girl. But after all, you're definitely not strong enough to beat the Radiance. You know who is also in Green Path and is really strong? The Hunter. You all know the Hunter, an incredibly strong NPC who has info about everyone. He was also faking a boss fight because why not? So can we actually say how strong he is? Let's take a look at the Hunter's channel, the book where we unlock info about enemies after fighting them. If we see his entry for the Radiance, we see he has no idea who the Radiance is. So I guess he would not care about beating her, and given the fact that he has no idea about her, I guess he's just not interested in figuring it out. And seeing how he does not seek this danger, I conclude that he knows his boundaries in a way. Maybe similar to how he does not fight the knight after he completes the journal. Maybe he's aware of how hard the fight would be, and that he would probably lose. Mr. Mushroom is a character I do not want to talk about that much because, well, he may be strong, but he is also a joke character, so I think we will learn more about him in Silksong, where we will maybe see stuff like his intentions. As it stands though, he's just a hidden character who was added into the game because the area with conifer and fungal wastes felt empty when Corny leaves. So yeah, he does not display any aggressive behavior, but seems to be some kind of ascended being. Probably not enough to finish off the Radiance though. Another one is Hera. As a Queen of Deepness, she helped the Pale King and helped bear a child. Who's Hornet? Who's by the way not in this list because being near the infection chaos the frick out of her, so she is not stronger than Radiance. The thing I want to talk about is that Hera was called the Beast. I have talked about the Beast thing in Thalem's Folly so often, so therefore I will increase the speed of what follows by this size, and you can afterwards decrease it again if you have not heard me babble about Thalem's Folly before. So here goes. So Thalem's Folly talks about Thalem's fate and the Beast's awakening. Since the Weavers and trouble in Silksong, we can assume the Sleeping Beast has something to do with Weavers, and I think the Beast is an honorary title from the Weavers given to strong individuals. Like for example Hera from Hollow Knight. Therefore she's probably pretty strong. But we do not know if that necessarily refers to physical strength. I think it is both physical strength and also strength as a persuader, if you catch my drift. But that's it. I still don't think she could beat the Radiance because, well, she would have done that if she could have. On to the next one. When talking about bugs that withstood the infection, the Sisters of Battle are the first that came to my mind. strong of mind, the entire tribe of the mantises is not infected by the disease. Well, except those cocks in the Queen's Gardens. However, even if they are not infected, they still probably would not be strong enough to actually fight the Absolute Radiance. Or are they? Let's take a look. The Radiance has a total of 2200 health, with the Knight being able to deal 41.5 damage fully upgraded with a Strength Charm. The Sisters of Battle have 750 health respectively, with one of them having an additional 500 to be used as an introduction to the fight. So a total of 2750 health. Since the Radiance deals double damage and the Sisters don't, let's say they would give each other 30 damage or 60 damage respectively. And to be honest, considering how often the Sisters attack, they might have a chance at beating the Radiance. However, we can still assume that the Radiance would come out victorious, because even if they were to reduce the Radiance's health to 0, they would probably not be able to land the final blow. At least not as annihilatingly. Is that a word? Why did I write words in the script of which I don't know if they exist? Anyway, at least not as head goes bonkingly as when she was actually defeated by us. The Knight is a strong being, one of the purest vessels there ever was. It itself is stronger than the pure vessel. However, if it is just a Knight, we kind of just die to the infection anyway. At least after some time, we will also give way and become as infected as the pure vessel did. So, we need some help. Intro Void. Void comes in many forms. Void tendrils, siblings, and just general despair. Seeing how we become more in sync with our past and our origin, the further we go along into the game, we're actually able to beat the Radiance. But then the Godmaster endings came. And with it, we did not only unify the Void, but I see the Shade Lord as an example of the Knight losing control. The Shade Lord looks nothing like the Knight did in the Dream No More ending, so I think it should be considered its own entity. So we finally know who is stronger than the Radiance. The being that kills the Radiance also killed Pale King and is about to take over the kingdom of Hallownest. So could anyone beat the Shade Lord? The obvious answer would be no. So is that it? Is that the strongest being in Hallownest? Well, no. The strongest is of course the Primal Aspid. Aspid go pew pew pew. No, but in all seriousness, the strongest being in Hallownest is the Delicate Flower. The Delicate Flower quest is infamous in the Hollow Knight community. You can give the flower to a few bugs. Apart from the grave of the traitor's daughter, also Elderbug or for example also the Godseeker. The Godseeker, who also should consider going on Weight Watchers, just saying, then holds on to it. And once the Shade Lord beats the shit out of the Radiance, the Void tries to leak out into the world. But this little white flower is just too strong.
I mean, seriously, this thing breaks under the most minuscule amounts of impact from attacks that weren't even directed at it.
I mean seriously, the Delicate Flower is strong enough to stop the Void.
It even breaks from just traveling on a stag. I mean, come on. Clearly the Delicate Flower is the weakest character in all of Hollow Knight.